I'm joined by Gary Yourofsky, one of the most influential voices in the animal rights movement. Gary is an activist, educator, and lecturer who has reached millions with his message about veganism and compassion. His legendary Georgia Tech speech titled "The Best Speech You Will Ever Hear" has been translated into more than 30 different languages and continues to inspire people around the world to rethink their relationship with animals. Over the course of his career, Gary has delivered over 2,600 lectures at universities, schools, and events across the globe. He has also made headlines for freeing over 500 mink from a fur farm in the late 90s, which led to his arrest and short prison sentence, but also became a defining moment in his journey for animal liberation. He spent decades fighting not just for the animals, but for the awakening of our collective conscience, challenging systems that numb empathy, and teaching that true change starts with compassion. Gary is back in action to raise awareness and funds for SASHA Farm, Michigan's largest farm animal sanctuary, helping animals who have been rescued find a peaceful home. Gary, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Thanks for having me on, Travis. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, so I just kind of want to get right into it. I've been watching some of your podcasts. You're so entertaining. You're just such a great storyteller. I just love the way you speak, your energy, your enthusiasm. You really like pull in people. I feel like when they listen to you, you just have like this energetic magnetism. They just kind of like zoom into it, and it's just so entertaining to listen to you talk.
You
But
know, I'm
I was
positive,
listening.
but Travis, I'm positive people keep me in their lives just for the entertainment factor.
No, you're very entertaining. I love your stories. You're just such a great storyteller, and I just love your passion, your enthusiasm for this topic. And I was listening to one of your podcasts recently, and you mentioned something that stuck out to me, and something that I'm very like. This whole channel that I have is all about this type of phenomenon. And you mentioned you had hair standing in the back of your neck when you were in these slaughterhouse environments, and I just kind of want to just talk about that right off the jump, if you're okay with it.
Sure.
So tell me kind of like what that was like about, like how you felt that sort of sensation in the back of your neck, and what do you think that was causing that? Like, what? Just take me in those moments if you don't mind.
Well, when I first went to a slaughterhouse, it was Thornapple Valley Pig Slaughterhouse in the Eastern Market area of Detroit. And it was such an evil place, as it would have to be. It's a place of torture, a place of exploitation, a place where no animal has the right to be free, where they're all going to be killed, have their heads chopped off, their bodies chopped up into pieces. And when I went there, though, I want to be clear, I was still a meat eater. I was still investigating. I was starting to learn about what was going on. So I wanted to see it for myself. And when I got there, the absolute first thing that happened was it was an eerie feeling. I felt like the devil himself was behind me, so I found myself turning around like this a lot and seeing if somebody was there. There's definitely no God at a slaughterhouse, and I don't care what God you believe in, what God you pray to. It is void of any holy being, any angelic being. It is just an evil place. So yeah, the hair on the back of my neck was standing up. I was getting this horrible feeling that something was evil, and it was. And then when I walked up to the trucks that were outside, there were always 3 to 6 trucks loaded up with pigs who were waiting to be called in to the slaughterhouse floor. And I would walk up to those trucks, still a meat eater, and I would look inside. They'd be looking back at me, and their eyes were screaming, "Why are you doing this to us?" With tears rolling down my eyes, the hair on the back of my neck standing up, having this horrible feeling just encompass me and ensheath me. I would actually say in my head, I don't know. I don't know why we do this to you. And it never made sense. And once they called those trucks in, I mean, I could see them from the area, from the way Eastern Market, Detroit was set up. You can there's like a little there are meat markets there. There's a farmer's market there, so it's not a place that's cordoned off to the public. So you can see most of the animals being forced down the chute to the slaughterhouse floor, and I saw these horrible, horrible people taking pokers, these electric prods, and forcing the pigs to walk to their own demise. And if the pigs didn't want to go down the chute, and a lot of them didn't, why would they want to? Why would any living sentient being want to walk into a torture chamber? They would shove that poker in their eye to make them walk down. So the eerie feeling was just constant. The sense of the evilness that was taking place, man, it was everywhere, and you couldn't get away from it. Even when I left for the day to go back home, I found myself slumping over, hunched over. If a family member or a friend saw me, they'd say, "What the hell's going on? What's wrong, Gary?" And I'd say, "Oh, nothing. I was at a slaughterhouse today." And they're like, "What? Why would you go to a slaughterhouse?" I said, "Well, because I wanted to learn the truth. The question I have to you is, why don't you join me tomorrow? Because I'm going back because I can't believe what I just saw yesterday." So I want you to know as well, I went back to Thornapple Valley Pig Slaughterhouse every day for anywhere from 1 to 5 hours a day for 6 weeks straight as a meat eater because I wanted it to sink in. My mind wouldn't let me grasp what I saw the day before, so I had to go see it again and again and again. And guess what? I saw the same evil things. I experienced the same evil presence. Uh, Hair on the back of my neck stood up. Hair all over my body was standing up. It was just this horrible, evil feeling that the devil was present, and the devil was present. The devil would have to be present at a slaughterhouse or whatever evil being you want to assign to the slaughterhouse industry, the slaughterhouse world. And it was just, it was a horrible experience, but it was an experience that shaped me. I mean, this is what led me down the path of veganism and made me realize I had to speak up and speak out and let other people know what was going on. And there's a reason, the slaughterhouse floors are not shown on McDonald's and Burger King and KFC and Wendy's commercials. There's a reason they use cartoon caricatures of animals singing and dancing, acting like these animals want to have their heads chopped off, that they want to be viewed as property and commodities and sandwiches. And if you have a chance, anybody listening, to actually go to a slaughterhouse in your area, you can go verify what I said. Don't think I'm exaggerating. That was one thing that did bother me sometimes over the years. People thought I would aggrandize what was going on. The shit is so evil, Travis. There is no reason to aggrandize the horrible, evil things that humans are doing to animals. I can't even believe humans came up with the things we came up with to torture and kill these animals. I mean, they actually have guillotine machines in the slaughterhouse to chop off the chicken's head. A machine that just goes round and round, and the chickens are hung upside down, and slide them down and cut their heads off. And nowadays, they're starting to use gas chambers. That's the preferred method of death for chickens and for pigs all around the world. So I would encourage people, if you can stomach it, or at least watch a slaughterhouse video to open your eyes so you can join the vegan movement and open up your circle of compassion.
I agree with you, and we probably won't stay in this topic for too long, but I do want to start with it because that's what kind of led me to reach out to you, and we will get to the whole other part of it, the compassionate part. Like I got my Woodstock Farm Animal Sanctuary, and I got my Farm Sanctuary shirts on, so I'm here to represent. But I'm just curious, did you have to get approval to go into these slaughterhouses, or like did you kind of sneak in? How did that go about?
A little sneaking in, a little walking around, believe it or not, again, the way this area was set up, at least. And mind you, this was back in the 90s. Security wasn't as great as it might be today. The reason I say I was there for 1 to 5 hours, it depended how long the security took to come and ask me to leave. So it's one day, in fact, several days, I was there for 5 hours, just walking around, peeking inside the slaughterhouse, looking at all the trucks, walking and gathering my thoughts, wiping the tears from my face, from my eyes. Maybe I was there were times I was just sitting there contemplating what the hell was going on. So I lasted a long time there. Sometimes it was only an hour before security came and said, "Sir, what are you doing here?" And I'd say, "I just want to see what's going on." And it wasn't like they were dragging me off or even screaming. We weren't having screaming matches. They would say something like, "Sir, you really can't be here. We're gonna have to ask you to leave." I'd say, "Okay, I just wanted to see what was going on inside of the slaughterhouse." If you're going to go inside actually onto the killing floor, you would need permission for that, which you'd be surprised. A lot of them would grant it. I've talked to a lot of students who were doing essays over the years, and I would encourage them. I said, just go call the Al Badir slaughterhouse, this halal slaughterhouse down in Eastern Market area, or call up Thornapple Valley. Uh, these people who do the killing and people who engage in exploitation understand their mindset, they don't think they're doing anything wrong. So if you just say,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, I'm a student, I'm doing an essay, and this is part of my paper. Can I come down and watch?" Or just say, "I just moved to this area. I just want to see how you're killing the animals." The majority of the time they're going to say, "Okay, yeah, you come on by, just be here at 10 o'clock on Wednesday, and be prepared to see all this stuff." But they really don't think anything is horrible and evil going on. So all the students that I sent there to these slaughterhouses, none of them got turned down. And there were a couple of dozen over the years that I was sending down there, and they never got turned down. And that was the reason. The people that are doing evil don't think they're doing evil, so why wouldn't they let you see it?
Now, I'm just curious. Like, do they allow you to film in there, or is there just some sort of like gag
That
law
would
on that
depend.
now?
That would depend. I'd say about half the students were given permission to film. The other half were told they can only just take notes and observe. That would be something that somebody would have to work out with each slaughterhouse. Again, now I'm talking back in the late '90s, early 2000s. Things might be different these days. I haven't been to a slaughterhouse in quite a while, in at least 15 or so years. I can tell you another story that I kind of ties into everything that your channel is about with the goosebumps and the eerie feelings. It
Sure.
was so I always once I became vegan, I went into all places of torture. Behind the scenes of every circus that ever came through Michigan, behind the scenes of the rodeos, I broke into vivisection laboratories, and I went into more than a dozen slaughterhouses over the years. The animals always knew who I was or what I was standing for. I would talk to them as I had a camera and I was filming, and I'd say, "Guys, I'm sorry I can't take you today and I can't liberate you, but I'm getting some footage so I can show people what you're going through." And as horrible as those places were, and as horribly treated that these animals were, it was as if they understood what I was doing and they were never scared or frightened of me, except this one time. I was in Manchester, Michigan, which is actually 15, 20 minutes from SASHA Farm. As you're driving to SASHA Farm, you actually pass an auction house. Now, an auction house, by the way, you don't need any permission. It's open to the public. You can go backstage, you can look at all the animals back there. So I decided I was going to get some footage that day. I went behind the scenes, and there was a stall with two sheep and two cows. Two of the animals had a spray. They were spray painted with a blue line. The blue was to signify a male. Two of them had a red or a pink paint line on them to signify the females. And as I took my camera out to film what they were going through, it was the first time that animals didn't recognize who I was and what I was doing, and they turned in fear of me. They had the hair on their bodies standing up because all they saw was two-legged devil. And this horrible feeling came over me, and it was as if I was the devil, that I couldn't explain to them. I was too stupid to speak cow and too stupid to speak sheep, because these animals do have their own languages, but humans are too stupid to understand those languages. And it was like they were screaming at me, "What are you doing to me now? Where are you going to take me now? What body part are you cutting off of me now?" which one of my friends are you stealing from me now? And it broke my heart. This is why I've become very militant at times. This is why many vegans become militant, because I didn't want to be a two-legged devil to them. But they were so frightened from the devilish place that they were in, and all the evil things that human beings do to them. All they saw was a two-legged devil. They were too scared to differentiate the vegan from the non-vegan, the one who cares from the beings that don't care about them, that want to violate them. So this that feeling that we're talking about, actually, I saw the animals have that feeling. That's what this story is. That would be more appropriate to say that they had the feeling of the hair on the back of their neck standing up, looking at me, and it's something. Now this is a story I haven't told much. I told it maybe 4 times on some podcast over the last few months. I've done dozens. I only told it during Q&A sessions during my lectures, maybe two, three, 4 times, and it was so emotional to me. I always broke down and cried when I talked about it in more detail than I'm talking about it now. Not that I'm embarrassed to cry, but sometimes I just don't feel like crying during a podcast or during a Q&A session. So, when I even could have told this story, I decided not to. I just didn't want to break down like that. But man, I've seen some evil stuff, and yeah, I've experienced that Frisson experience, and I've seen the animals have it as well.
Yeah, so usually on my channel, what I'll talk about is the positive feeling of frisson, or aesthetic chills, is what's being talked about in the scientific community. There's actually a lab in California called the Institute for Advanced Consciousness Studies, and they're looking at this phenomenon as a way to help deal with trauma and to help people kind of heal from within. Now, there's two sides to it. I think, like in this case, it might be a like not a very pleasant experience. It's more of like the nervous system firing. We have our norepinephrine, which actually is adrenaline, which will cause the hairs to stand on end, and it's pretty much putting us into a fight or flight response. Now, but it also can be a pleasurable thing. Like people listen to music, they might get chills, or maybe something that someone has said that was very profound that kind of moved them might give them chills. There's a book that was written by Dacher Keltner called Awe, and he talked about like this positive valence of like getting chills for aesthetically pleasing moments, like maybe with art, being in nature, being in awe of something. But we also see this other aspect of shock and awe, where it'll give you chills because it's like your nervous system is firing. It's just like the body's being so present, so aware of what's going on. It's just like, pay attention to this, whatever it is, just pay attention, right? It just sort of increases your attentiveness.
Sure. Could it be a premonition-like feeling as well, where you're hearing something and it's guiding you somewhere? Because if so, I have a great story about how I found my dog Rex. Can I tell you about this?
Dude, I don't know if the camera can catch it. I don't know. It's kind of, my hairs are standing up right now. It's kind of hard to see. It's kind of, it's
So
not, but yeah,
I'm
no, please tell me the story.
This is back, and this is, in fact, this Mother's Day 1995. That's when I found Rex. It's my first year being vegetarian. I had a pretty crazy girlfriend back then named Wendy, and this is part of the story. So she would love to fight, and I don't like to fight with the women that I'm in love with. This is not my thing. I don't like to fight with my friends. I fight enough with the animal abusers of the world and the intersectionalists that want to scream at me. I don't want to fight when I'm not in activist mode. Anyways, she hangs up the phone on me, one of her favorite things, and I decided that night that I was going to write her a letter, drive to her house 45 minutes away, shove the letter under her door, which is what I did. So now it's 3:30 in the morning. I'm driving back. I'm not supposed to be where I am. Understand, if Wendy didn't do what she did, I wasn't supposed to be on the highway at this time. So there's also one of those things, like things happen for a reason. So here I am with my current dog, Bourbon, my beautiful Cocker Spaniel, who I adored. And as I'm driving down the highway, Northwestern Highway in Michigan, I see a dead dog on the road, or what appeared to be a dead dog. And I went and I pet Bourbon because I was positive Bourbon saw the dog and that he felt violated as a dog. Like, how dare these people hit us on the road and then just leave our dead bodies there? But as I pet Bourbon, I swear a voice told me, go back and check. And I pulled my hand off the Bourbon pretty quickly. I don't want to say I was scared, but it was startling. And then I pet him again, and sure enough, the voice says, go back and check. And I'm looking, I don't know where this voice is coming from. Is it really in my head? Is Bourbon talking to me, sending me some kind of a signal? Did it a third time, go back and check. And I remember saying out loud, okay, wait a second. I know people don't care about animals, but our society cares about dogs. No one's going to hit a dog and not check and make sure that he's, not alive. And I turned around, and where this area was on Northwestern Highway, it's not an easy, quick turnaround. It actually took me 10, 12 minutes to get back there. As I pull my car over on the side of the road on the shoulder, I got out, walked towards what appeared to be a dead dog, and he lifted his head up. He was still alive. And I care about animals, but I'm not a veterinarian. I'm not a wildlife biologist. I don't know how to help an animal that was in that shape. His backside was crushed. Found out later he had a fractured pelvis, dislocated left leg, and I laid down on the shoulder face to face with him, and I was petting his head. He let me pet his head. I said, okay, buddy, I'm gonna get you out of here somehow. I'm gonna get you to an emergency vet. And every time I went to scoop him up, he growled and went to bite me. Now, this was a defensive mechanism. He was in pain. He didn't know how else to express himself. I knew that he wasn't this evil dog Rex, I found out later, had a great way of acting like he was vicious, but he wasn't. But so and finally, somebody else pulled over and saw me. It happened to be a firefighter. And I said, can you help me get this dog to this emergency vet? And he said, yeah, but you can't move this dog. He might have a back injury. So we ripped this board out of my trunk that was, over the spare tire. And we made a gurney, a stretcher, and we got him over there. I got it underneath Rex and took him to the emergency vet. And it's this amazing story of me petting Bourbon and Bourbon telling me somehow go back and check. And Rex ended up being, man, maybe I hate to pick favorites, but I think parents do this too with their human children. If there's more than one, they usually have an extra special favorite one. Like, that's my favorite. I think Rex was my favorite one. He was my buddy, and he was always had to be by my side. Not too close, though. God forbid Rex should be too close. I put him on the bed. He jumped off the bed. He wanted to be next to the bed. I'm like, you can sleep up here with me, buddy. But anyways, got him back to the vet. It took me, man, 5, 6 months to rehabilitate him. He had to learn how to walk again, and it was just what an amazing story that this effect that you're talking about, this premonition, that Bourbon told me to go back and check, and ended up finding my most favorite dog, my most beloved dog.
That's amazing. I love stories like this, and they do give me chills. I will say that I agree with you. I think that this is an intuitive sort of marker for us, like for confirming something, maybe even communicating in other ways that are not just like verbal, through like just this sort of phenomenon and sensation. And actually, there is a book that was recently published by this neuroscientist. Her name is Dr. Tara Swart. And she talks, it's actually titled Signs. And she talks about getting goosebumps and chills as a premonition, as a sort of connection. And she kind of agrees to this idea of like a universal type of consciousness, that we are connected in some way or some form. And I will say, you know what, it's interesting. In sort of like my experience, I kind of knew like intuitively that should probably, I loved animals and I didn't want to eat them and stuff like that. So I used to eat anything, everything. I was Italian, I grew up in an Italian household, meatballs, all that kind of thing. But over time, I just realized like there was like cognitive dissonance here, and I didn't want to feel guilty, and I wanted to live my truest self. I wanted to feel like authentic and live with integrity. And so I eventually became vegetarian. I started that maybe when I was 16 or 17, right around that time. And I was like slowly making this transition toward a vegan. And, it took some time. I've been vegan for the past 4 years. But as I became a vegan, I was, I would say I created this channel maybe about 2 years ago because I wanted to talk about this sensation that I felt like wasn't being talked about enough. And during that time, I would say maybe about maybe 8 or so months ago, I published a video of why I went vegan. But I was actually not going to talk about me going vegan. I just wanted to get people aware of this sensation. And I was thinking maybe if they feel this, maybe they will listen to this intuitive guide that will guide them toward the right things and the right choices in life. And I was so crazy. I had a moment. I was at work and a thought popped up in my head. And I saw like a chicken, like a chicken I haven't been to a slaughterhouse, but I've seen the videos and things like that. So it might have been a part of that. But I started getting, like, I felt like my whole body getting like full body chills. And I saw like this chicken in this situation that was just horrible. And it was in my mind, but I was feeling this in my body. And then I was like, let me just go with this. And then eventually I just had like this, I like to call it like a cosmic download, where I was just there for 15 minutes straight, like in tears. And I felt so connected to that chicken that might not even exist, or I could have been having just some crazy psychedelic experience. But it felt so real, so visceral. At that moment, I knew, I was like, after this experience, I was like, holy shit, okay, what do I do about this now? Like, after I've had this experience, it was still like an awakening. And I was just like, I need to talk about veganism, but how do I do it? Like, do I become the militant vegan, or do I was kind of like in this sort of space where I was just trying to figure out, okay, I need to talk about this. So I created a video why I went vegan. And I started reaching out to like people like you as well. And then also talking about like how veganism can help tap into our intuition and our body and feeling this pleasurable sensation. And it was interesting because I was getting pretty militant with some people around me, and I noticed like I was generating like this, there's like an opposite feeling of this. I call it the ooze. I haven't even talked about this, but it's like a negative type of, it kind of comes down my head, and it's like kind of like a not a good feeling. And it was so strange. There's like this guy, his name is Ali Tabrizi. Do you know about this guy?
I don't.
Seaspiracy?
Oh, I did
He
hear
was
about
one of
it.
the,
Yeah.
yeah, so one of these guys, he's I guess was one of the directors or the guys behind Seaspiracy, and he went vegan because of marshmallows. And I was like, what? How? Why? Like, and he has like, he comes up with this whole rationality for it.
Yeah,
And I listened to it. And
he
listened
stopped being vegan because of marshmallows. Some ridiculous. Like, who needs marshmallows anyways? I mean, I honestly,
Yeah.
when vegan marshmallows came out, I tried them once. I'm like, oh, big deal. Who that? And of course, you can find vegan marshmallows, but his whole story sounds more like the story of an addict that just couldn't fight off the addiction of flesh and blood and veins and muscles and tendons, things that ooze out of a cow's titty and things that come out of a hen ass. This is, I've often said the most powerful addiction on this planet. It's not sex, it's not gambling, it's not cocaine, it's not heroin. It's meat, cheese, milk, and eggs. And it might also be that feeling of power that humans get by thinking they're more special and more important than the animals, which is what this all boils down to, that humans just don't value animal life at all. But I love the fact, too, I think so. Could becoming one, having a feeling of oneness with nature, does this fall into the whole category of what you're talking about as well?
100%, 100%. And, that's kind of my message is like, there's some people, it's a very small niche community, and I have like a small Discord group, and there's some subscribers who are, listening to stuff that I say and things like that. But, my message to them is like, if you really want to experience the most of this, then being a vegan, that's the way to go. Because also some studies have shown that, especially with this lab, and actually they work with MIT as well, Felix Scholler, Abrinandan Jain, these guys have pretty much found out that this sort of feeling of frisson is linked to empathy and openness to experience. So if we want to embrace that as much as possible, veganism is that, it will support that. And it's like, to me, that's the human superpower. You know what I mean? Like, that's our superpower, is to be at that level, to get to that level of consciousness and awareness where we can experience a oneness with things. And that's the most beautiful. Me talking about it, I get chill like all throughout my body. It's like, it's so true to me, and it's so real. And it's like, I know it's so crazy to talk about, but like, that's my message that I want to give to the people who are watching my channel. I am a small channel as of now, but but the thing is, like, this diet, it's not just a diet. As I've learned, it's not a diet. It's a sort of mindset, and I understand, like, a lot of Buddhists have this mindset. It could be in sects of Hinduism as well, Jainism. We can go down the list, and there is a lot of agreement with this, that trying to create the least amount of suffering, but also experiencing yourself as something greater than yourself and tapping into that. But I wanted to jump back into that marshmallow story for a second. Because it's kind of interesting. So I was kind of being in this like militant vegan kind of thing, and people at work, this is so weird, like, started calling me marshmallow, and I was just like, wait a minute, hold on. And why did you? I was like wondering, and then some of my other colleagues are like, why did they give you this nickname of marshmallow? And one of the concierge, she's just like, so like, she's very like, just very energetic. She gets people to laugh and stuff like that. But she started calling me, another staff started calling me marshmallow. And I'm an occupational therapist. I work in nursing homes and special schools, but it was in a nursing home that I'm getting called marshmallow. And she's like, yeah, I'm calling you marshmallow because you're so sweet. And I'm just like, well, marshmallows, last time I checked, when I had them way back in the day, they weren't very, I don't know, they just have like, there's like texture, but I just found that interesting. And it was just like, man, maybe it was a sign from the universe that it's just like, okay, like, maybe my role, I agree with, I think there has to be levels of like, in this movement, we have to have certain people doing certain things. And like, I was just trying to find my road, my path in spreading this awareness and this message of veganism. I just wanted to share that with you. It was like more recent story that I had, and it kind of like,
I think it's dope. Listen, I think it's dope. I think everybody needs to find their path to spread the message, spread the peaceful message. And if a certain avenue doesn't suit you, find a different avenue. I never once told people they had to speak the exact same way that I spoke when I was giving a lecture. By the way, it was a mixture of it was a militant comedy roast. So, but if you're not comfortable saying Holocaust or making slavery analogies, you don't have to, as long as you tell people the truth and hold people accountable, which is the most important thing. Something else that we can throw in the mix here, obviously, veganism is for the animals alone. That's why we're doing it, to end exploitation. But a cool reason to also do this is not to consume death and violence and fear, which pollutes our bodies and pollutes our mind. When we talk about health, most people just refer to the health of their body, but there's a mindful health that has to come into play at some point. If your psyche isn't right, you're not going to be a happy person in most cases. You're going to have a tough time finding peacefulness and finding joy in life, or finding a peaceful way to look at somebody else. One of the coolest things about veganism is now we can see animals for who they are. We don't see them as objects anymore. We can see a chicken as a chicken when most people look at a chicken and see a bucket of wings. I can now look at a cow and see, you know what? That cow is a beautiful creation. If that cow wants to sit in a field and eat grass all day, that's up to him, that's up to her. And most people see a cow and see a pair of shoes, steak, a hamburger, a briefcase. This is part of the mind pollution that's been going on for all our lives when we consume corpses, when we consume disgusting things, when we consume blood and flesh and beings that have been tortured, it pollutes our entire being. And I don't think you can become one with yourself, let alone with nature, if you're consuming corpses and consuming death and violence. So veganism is very important for a lot of people. And by the way, my most amazing experience of one that happened in Hawaii. I'm gonna tell you a story. I know you brought it up earlier. You like my stories. Let me tell you the other one.
Yeah,
I get to
totally.
Hawaii. This is like in the '90s, the late '90s, I think. Maybe it was the early 2000s. I go and visit my friend Tiu. She picks me up at the airport, and as soon as we get in the car, she says, "Gary, I have to tell you something." And I immediately said, "Wait a second. Are there big ass spiders in Hawaii?" And she goes, "How did you know?" I go, "What else would you say with that?" I sensed it. I sensed it, right? The Frisson. Like, what do you
Yeah.
mean? And she's like, "Well, they're pretty big. They're called cane sugar spiders." I'm like, "Oh my God, I would not have come here. You know, I have this spider thing." Now, I don't kill spiders, but they kind of freak me out, especially the bigger they are. So she ends up telling me how big they are, how fast they are, how they're gonna run away from me, but she curses it. How did she curse it, Travis? She says, "Well, I've been here for 3 years, Gary, and I haven't had one in my house yet." I said, "You haven't had one in your house. You just told me you haven't had one in your house." I know what's coming tonight. I know what's happening. So I wake up at about 3, 4 in the morning. I have to take a piss. I go to the bathroom. I wash my hands after I'm done. I still have the lights off because it's middle of the night. And I go to wipe my hands on the towel, and something just takes off. I freeze. I'm like, "Oh my God, okay." It must have been a headlight from a car on the highway. Then then I realized there is no highway off of where TU lives. Oh my God, I don't want to turn the light on. And I turn the light on, and who's in the corner but this cane sugar spider, big as my hand. And I just scream, "No!" Don't ask me why. I'm like, "No! No!" And the spider's running around. Oh my God, oh my God. I run upstairs because TU had a place downstairs for me to stay. I run upstairs. I'm like, get up right now. I don't care if you're naked. Get up right now. There's a big one of those spiders downstairs. You got to go down and catch him." And she jumps up out of bed. She grabs a big Tupperware container and an empty cereal box. She goes down and she's in the shower area where the spider's running around in a circle. She catches the spider and I'm freaking out. But meanwhile, I'm also saying to you, "You're the bravest person I've ever seen in my life. How are you standing in front of this being?" "Oh, they don't bother me that much." So she catches him, she contains him, takes him outside, comes back in. I said, "Do me a favor, check around the bathroom one more time." And she gets in the shower, and what does she say? She says, "Oh my God, there's his mother." I said, "What? There's another one?" "And what do you mean it's
Oh
his
wow.
mother? Does that mean this one's bigger than the other one?" She said, "This one's pretty big." I'm like, "The other one was pretty big, sir." So she catches the
Damn.
other one. So now the next night, same thing happens. We find another spider. So I'm going to fast forward to the story. We were going kayaking a mile out into the ocean. Pacific Ocean. Now, I didn't read the fine print or the last paragraph where it said we were also going to jump out and go kayaking after we were done. I mean, jump out and go snorkeling after we're done kayaking. I said, "What? In the middle of the ocean? Are they crazy?" So as we're going to the area to get ready to kayak, there's 50 of us, and the lifeguards are giving us information: "Do this, don't do that, don't swim up to any rocks. The waves might hit you, throw you into the rocks." So Tiu was the only one that knew my sense of humor. So I raised my hand. I said, "Are we going to see any sharks?" And I love sharks, by the way, but like most people, I'm like, I don't know if I want to get too close to them, right? They get a really bad rap, though. The movie Jaws, like, really did a horrible thing for, even though Spielberg, it was one of his best movies. I hate to say it, but it was a horrible movie for sharks. The whole world thinks they're just killing machines, and they're not. But it was a healthy phobia that I had. I didn't want to be in their territory without their permission, basically. So I asked the guy, "Are we going to see sharks?" And he says, "No, the sharks don't come around this area." I said, "Don't come around this area. Their home, the ocean." I said, "Are we going to see turtles?" said, "Oh yeah, there's a big 200-pound turtle that always swims over there. We call her Hope. She's been there for 15, 20 years." I said, "Well, that's funny because I went online last night when I heard we were going to go snorkeling, and I found out that sharks eat turtles. So why wouldn't they be there?" Now, nobody's laughing at this but Tiu. She's kind of getting my sense of humor, what I'm trying to say. The guy doesn't get it. I said, "Okay, let me explain something else. I'm a vegan. So if there's a hamburger joint, a chicken wing joint, and a salad bar, where do you think I'm going to be?" He's still not getting it. Tiu's cracking up. So, anyways, we go kayaking. I promise the story's going to end well. The story. So we're kayaking out, a mile out. Everybody jumps in to go snorkeling except me. The last lifeguard is swims up next to me and says, "Sir, are you going to jump out right now?" I said, "I am not jumping into the ocean. Are you crazy? You just want me to jump into the ocean?" But then I thought about that cane sugar spider that I saw the last night. And I said, "You know what? Nothing can be more frightening than that spider, not the shark, nothing. Okay, I'm going to jump in the ocean." I said, "What do I do?" He said, "Put the flippers on and just jump in." So I put the flippers on. I said, "You're saying just jump right in. Because just jump right in, face first." Travis, I jumped in like this, spread eagle. And for the first time in my life, I experienced oneness with nature like I've never experienced. I can't even really describe to you right now this feeling of oneness, but whatever the most erudite monk in the world has ever talked about when he talked about oneness, this was it. Instantly, what went through my mind: I hope I see a shark. Oh my God, I want to see a shark. Please, God, let a shark come up to me right now. And then I looked down and I saw maybe 5,000, 10,000 clownfish in a school. Keep in mind, you only get to see clownfish in an aqua prison in somebody's little tank somewhere. I looked elsewhere. I must have seen 1,000 or 2,000 zebrafish. I've never experienced such a magical place. I really want to go back to the ocean, want to go scuba diving. What an amazing oneness experience. If this is Frisson, man, it was the most amazing moment of my life because I've had oneness moments with animals over the years, especially ones that I've rescued, especially some mink at the mink liberation that I took part in '97, which I can talk about in a second. Um, Nothing like this, man. This was on another level. It was like, man, I can't even describe it. It was I was in another world. I wasn't a part of my body. I was outside of my body. And quickly, when I was doing the mink liberation in Blenheim, Ontario in '97, I was warned by a couple of friends that the mink might attack me. I should take extra precaution and wear big gloves and, big body suit, something. And I remember saying, "No, animals have a sense, another sense that we've either never developed or one that we used to have when we were connected with nature at some point in history." I said, "They're going to know why I'm there. There's no way they're going to attack me. They're going to differentiate goodness from badness." And as I opened up cage after cage, didn't have one mink come at me. In fact, there was this symphony of joy that I remember. Their screams of like, "Oh my God, we're out of the cage. We're out of the cage." And I remember saying, "Go, go, guys, run, run, get out, get out." There were holes cut in the perimeter fence so they can make their way across a little dirt road, and there was 600 acres of field out there. But as I opened up one cage about midway through the raid, the liberation, I should say, uh, a mink jumped out of her cage and landed on my chest. She was back on her hind legs. It was as if she was in attack mode. But as I bent backwards because she was on my chest, I looked up. She was tilting her head. We've seen dogs do this, cats do this. A lot of animals do this as they're thinking, as they're taking in the scene. She was investigating me. And as I looked up at her and she turned her head a couple times, she jumped off and ran for the exit. And I remember putting my hands up, going, I knew it! I knew she was gonna understand that I was the good guy. And I swear I had this feeling that she said, "Oh, you're not the mink murderer, you're the mink liberator. Okay, I'm gonna run on out." So I think again, I think animals experience frisson, and I think she had that moment where, oh my God, wait, somebody's actually going to help me. I'm not going to get killed in this horrible place. Because keep in mind, the slaughterhouse and this fur concentration camp that I was at, the vivisection labs I broke into, there was also a horrible smell of fear. Fear has a disgusting aroma. It wasn't just rotting corpses and flesh and blood and feces. It was fear that permeated most of these places. It has a disgusting pheromone. Fear, yeah, fear is emits a disgusting pheromone, and you can pick up on it obviously as long as your nose is working. And it's that place of torture, man. I was happy that I took part in that, that I gave these animals a chance to be free that night. By the way, it was 1,542 mink were liberated that night. Only 540 escaped though and found their way across the field. But that was the only thing I can do for them that night, was give them a chance at freedom. And if anybody was locked in a cage waiting to have their necks broken, which is how mink are killed, and the skin ripped off their bodies, which is what happens to them, everybody would be saying, man, I hope Gary's coming by tonight, open up this cage, just give me a chance to be free. Unfortunately, I could not pick up 1,542 mink or any other creature and take them to safety. I just had to open up a cage and say, go, make a run for it, man. Here it is. Here's your chance.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you know what? That's such a beautiful story, though. And animals do have these senses, and I know you mentioned the slaughterhouse. There is a certain type of like fear and a pheromone there. It seems that pigs are aware of when they're going to get killed. It seems like the intention can be felt, and I feel like that's possible with, just being in tune with our nervous systems, that we could probably pick up some of those intentions. I do believe so. If they have those abilities, then I don't see it, us being disconnected from that either. And I kind of want to just bring up something really
No, I
quick.
don't listen. I don't
Yeah.
think there's any doubt. Animals, as we explain to the meat eaters of the world, that animals are sentient beings. Having sentience means you are cognizant. You are aware. Not just pigs, the cows, the chickens, the turkeys. They all know what's next. They're not stupid. Again, they smell death in the air. They smell the fear. They smell the blood. However, they're communicating with each other because, again, humans are too stupid to speak their languages. They're letting each other know that this is horrible. This is our demise right now, and there's no way out of here. And even the marine animals go through it. Do you know that I got a buddy? His name is Paul Shaterigan. Used to be the audio video guy at PETA. From 2002 to, I don't know, maybe the late 2000s. He's friends. Man, this guy's name always slips my mind. There's a famous photograph of a whale with his tail out of the water. Whoever the guy is that took that photograph, he's got a story that he told Paul, that he convinced a trawling ship to let him go and hang out outside the net while the net came up and just grabbed every creature in sight, and he wanted to film it. Well, the story is that he gets caught inside the net with tens of thousands of fish and other marine animals. And he told my buddy Paul, I've never sensed and felt so much fear and pain and suffering in my life. The marine animals experience it too. They're cognizant, they know what's going on. And that was the moment actually that he decided that he needed to be vegan. He wasn't vegan until that. He said, I never felt so much pain and suffering in my life. And he realized that he had to do it. And he was lucky enough to get out of that net, he said, because he didn't know if he was going to make it out of there alive, because nobody makes it out of those nets alive, because they squeeze it together and crush all these animals together. They're getting crushed alive, suffocated alive. And it's yeah, again, the animals know, the animals are aware, and if any human being doubts it, that's just engaging in human supremacy and bias, prejudice, and nonsense, thinking that humans are the only ones capable of having rational thoughts and feelings and being aware of their surroundings.
No, absolutely, absolutely, and it's interesting. I mean, you know, your friend there who got caught in the net, and then he just immediately became vegan. But also, I know I also heard you talk about people maybe giving them a grace period of like, okay, now that I've given you the truth, I've opened your eyes that hey, there's chicken in this chicken nugget. Some people don't actually, they're not conscious of what is that they're putting in their body, as we talked about before. But that grace period of like maybe a couple years or so, or like making a transition. Um, I know sometimes
I
it's
didn't want to be a hypocrite
yeah.
because the truth is, it took me a couple of years to make the transition. The coolest thing about my lecture tour, which I had around a 50% conversion rate on most days, is nearly everybody decided to do it on the spot. And but I wasn't completely harsh with people that were on the path. It was the people that blew it off, the people that argued, that made excuses. It was different if you came up to me and said, "Hey, Gary, I agree with everything you say. I have no comeback to anything you said. I don't feel like I can do it right now, but I'm gonna get there." I wasn't harsh. I wasn't screaming at them. I'd even put my arm around them and said, "Okay, buddy, just do me one thing. Get there sooner rather than later." But I can't be a hypocrite because I didn't do it overnight either. It was the people that walked out of the room like this. I don't want to hear about it. Don't want to, don't want to see it anymore. Don't want to think about it. Or the ones, oh, God told me it was okay. Well, there's no other way to get protein. It's all those stupid excuses. Those were the people that I was harsh with. I was never harsh with anybody that would stay on the path. And because even though it took me a few years, Travis, I stopped arguing because I was like every other meat eater growing up. I would argue with the vegans. I would argue with the vegetarians. And no, this is not, you guys are crazy. You guys are out there. But once I saw the elephant in the circus in 1993, once I went to the slaughterhouse, Thornapple Valley, and saw the pigs, I stopped. I realized I was wrong. I was just too weak and too stupid to make the transition. But the argument stopped. So I was always fair with people over the years with if they were in that state of making the transition. Again, I'll say to anybody listening who's not vegan and is in the transition state, sooner rather than later, for the victim's sake, not for my sake, for the victim's sake.
Agreed. And I think it's also for our sake of becoming truly human and to embrace empathy and compassion, which I think is our superpower. I think that we can do so much more. Even though we've been kind of led down this path and we're kind of doing things that are just not really making full sense, at this time. When we have AI on the
Nothing.
rise and we have
Yeah.
technology and things are a choice. And I just want to throw something out there too that I've thought was really interesting is that, slaughterhouse workers, they suffer higher levels of depression and anxiety and trauma compared to other occupations. And then psychologists call it perpetration induced traumatic stress, which is a form of PTSD. And so they use like to cope with that, they'll do drugs. They might even, that violence can actually ripple outward. And it's like we need to think about what is it that makes us truly human. And for me, it's like keeping that in mind. It's like our true nature is to be a steward, And I know there's talks about the Bible. Like right now, hot topic in the vegan community is Christspiracy, which I thought was they did a great job. I thought it was a fantastic film. But I have Jesus tattooed on my arm. I have Buddha tattooed on my arm. So I kind of always felt like he was a a vegan, and so but that's the only way to really live compassionately as fully as possible. And giving people that message and some time to transition, I think is fantastic.
Yeah. And by the way, the slaughterhouse workers, I believe there's only one profession on this planet that has a near 100% turnover rate every year. And guess what it is? Slaughterhouse workers. Because who in the hell could go to work every day and slice the heads off chickens and pigs and cows and turkeys and possibly function in life whatsoever. And mind you, these are people, these are poor people. You don't go to school, get a PhD. You don't come from a wealthy background and say, hey, I'm going to slice the heads off of cows and pigs. We make the poor people do it. We make the people that are broke and have nothing else to do go out and do this stuff. But even those people are saying, I don't care how broke I am. I don't care if I have a house, to live in. I don't care if I have a car to drive. I'd rather not do anything than go to work every day and murder these animals. I also heard a story too that most of the people, like whatever slaughterhouse they're in, they actually don't eat that animal. So if you're working in a cow slaughterhouse, these people no longer eat steaks and hamburgers. I mean, they see it. They see it
Yeah.
firsthand. In fact, I used to lecture in rural America. I'll tell you something. I was at Halifax Community College in North Carolina. I was discussing what was going on at Smithfield Factory Farms with how they cut the teeth off of baby pigs. And they're doing this because pigs in most cases are raised in a factory farm environment, and when you put a bunch of beings, and don't just blame pigs, if you put a bunch of humans together, you put 50,000 humans, 20,000 humans in one small area, we're going to be fighting with each other too. We're going to be jockeying for position. So the pigs are doing it too. But if you cut the teeth off when they go to bite each other, all of a sudden they can't damage the flesh. Now there's more profit that can be made. Well, after I explained what's going on, I had about three, four guys after class come up and say, "Hey, Gary, great speech. Actually, we came here to laugh at you, but man, that was the best speech we ever heard about animal rights. We now understand why you guys are vegans and why you do what you do, but we got to tell you, it's worse than what you showed. It's worse than what you described. We don't cut their teeth off. We take a hammer and we just knock them out." So here's the radical vegan making a connection with the slaughterhouse workers who are actually telling me it's worse than what you're showing. That's really not what we do. We do it in a worse way. We just take a hammer and knock their teeth right out. So, Travis, I've been through so much in 29 years. And I'm sure most people who have researched me know how I feel about human beings in this day and age. Now, mind you, I was the one going out talking to human beings more than anyone else. I was the one engaging in peaceful, pacifist activism. My lecturing, you can't get more passive than that. I wanted to educate people. I didn't want to fight with people. But there's also an article, I think it's on my website, that back in the late 90s, I did some lectures at a local high school where I wanted to defend Greg. The guy's name was Greg the pig farmer. I said, I remember if anybody was going to harm him, I was going to stand in front of him and protect this guy. But fast forward to 29 years later, 29 years of seeing little progress, 29 years of hearing idiotic excuses, never changed, by the way. They haven't changed. God says it's okay. Animals feel any of my protein. Oh, that's why animals are put on this earth to be food. So nothing has ever changed, and my feelings towards human beings have changed. I find it hard to extend complete empathy to groups of beings who demand life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but refuse to give life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness to the animals that they're violating. With this being said, I still want to educate people. I still want to reach people. I still want human beings to awaken their collective conscience. I still have some faint hope. It kind of depends on which day you ask me, though. I still have some hope that maybe humans can climb out of their abyss of callousness and extend some simple decency, because as vegans, that's all we're asking. We're not asking people to bring cows and pigs and chickens and turkeys into their households. We're asking to extend some simple decency, not to view them as commodities, as food, as clothing, as research specimens, to basically leave them alone. But I've had my moments with slaughterhouse workers, with hunters over the years. There was a hunter at San Diego State University. Real quickly, after I gave a lecture, I had 4 people hanging out outside the class. 3 of them were asking more questions. After about 20 minutes, I said, guys, I would stay all day, but I got another lecture in 10 minutes on the other side of campus, and I have to leave. And I turned to the one guy who wasn't saying anything. And I said, sir, I have to go. Did you have a question real quick? And he took 2 steps towards me, reached in his back pocket, pulled out his wallet, took out his hunting and his fishing licenses. I ripped him up. And he said, you touched me right here, man. I still have these ripped up hunting licenses in one of my boxes somewhere in my closet. But I looked him in the eye. I mean, what a moment again. The radical, vegan, reaching, the animal killer, the direct animal killer. And
Yeah.
this might shock people because people say, oh, Gary says he hates humans. But you know what I said to this guy at that moment? Can I give you a hug? He said, yeah. And I hugged him, and we hugged for about 30 seconds. And I whispered in his ear, you made the right choice, man. Thank you for listening. Thank you for giving me hope. Thank you for giving the animals hope. Thank you for being the proper being that I know we can all be. Uh,
Mm.
it's frustrating a lot when humans don't listen after they hear the truth. So I was never upset with anybody before I walked into a classroom for a lecture because I knew everybody was ignorant, and I heard all the stupid comments too before the lecture. I heard everything. I should have brought a hamburger today. I should have brought my deer head in today. Oh, we got to listen to the fucking vegan today. I was never mad at anybody. I'm like, you know what? I used to be the same way. It was after the speech if you still chose that demeanor, if you still use those words. I'm like, wait a second, you didn't know before, but I just gave you 70 minutes of truth. How could you still have that same position? Because right now you're supposed to be in a transition period, whether it's immediate or whether it's on the path. I don't care, but you need to be on the path towards making a change. Fortunately, most people did. Like I said, a 50% conversion rate. And professors told me I had about 25% of the crowd decide to make a drastic change. So something as if taking dairy, taking eggs out, or being vegan 3, 4 days a week, whatever it was a drastic change. It only left about 25% of people walking away doing nothing. And for that, I don't even know what to do, Travis. I don't know what to do with somebody after you tell them the truth and they still decide to live blindly and live selfishly and still view animals as inanimate objects, which is a crime in and of itself, that we would actually think that animals don't feel, that animals don't want to keep their babies, that animals don't want sun on their skin, that animals don't want to run around in a field and be free, that they don't want to play. And the crazy thing is, these are the same people who would play with a dog, who would love a cat, who would be in awe of a horse or a dolphin or a whale or a giraffe, and all of a sudden
Yeah.
it's a cow, it's a pig, chicken, turkey, or a fish, and we become stupid beings.
Yeah, I think I have me talking to people about this as well. A lot of people actually agree that there's like these bins, these mental bins. Like, okay, this animal I'm supposed to care for, it's my family, and this animal I'm exploiting. This is a resource. This is a commodity, and so these are different bins. And so we put like the pigs, the chickens, the cows, the goats, the sheep in this bin, and then like the cats, the dogs, the horses. Horses actually are
Right.
in both bins.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I realized how horrible the horse racing industry is. I just couldn't believe it.
And the horse carriage
But
industry too, which is, I was in Spain
oh
about a
yes,
month ago, a month and a
yeah,
half ago. And these
mm-hmm,
animals have it horrible. They have the bits in their mouth all day long, 12, 14, 15 hours a day,
yeah,
working in 100-degree weather, no access to water, pulling around lazy human beings all day long, and people thinking it's romantic. I mean, use your fucking legs.
yeah,
Stop. Everybody listen. No, wait, New York City has it too. I don't just want to blame Spain. It's all over the world. People are doing this. This is 2025, man. There are machines out there. Drive a car, get on a bus, get on a bike, get on a scooter, use your legs, but stop having innocent beings tug your lazy ass around, thinking that, oh, isn't this romantic? We're going to go through Seville or Central Park and look at whatever trees are out there. Enough already. But yeah, horses are in
Yeah.
both bits. By the way, you know what's interesting? Dogs and cats, as much as we love them in most parts of the world, they still got it horrible too, right? We're still murdering millions of them because they're unloved and unwanted. We still use them in vivisection experiments. I'm not sure if there's any animals that have escaped human oppression, but dogs and cats would probably be the first ones on that path to maybe finally escape it. But we certainly do a horrible job at treating other beings with kindness. And why? I don't get it. I don't understand why people become defiant. Why are we so defiant to open up our circles to the animal kingdom? Is it because we're going to feel less special, not superior, that we don't have someone to dominate?
Yeah, I think it's also some of these like social pressures. I think a lot of people I talk to, it's like they are vegan morally, ethically within their framework, but they're not doing those things. They're not lining up with those actions. And I think most people are in that category. And it's usually, it's like, I feel like it's like a social norm that's dominating their choices. And it's just like being around certain people. It's like, especially with like Thanksgiving that's coming up, it's being around this turkey, which is bringing other good memories, but we're not considering what's happening to that being which is on the table. And so like there is a disconnect with that. And then it's hard to change traditions and norms when they've been ingrained so much in our society as of now. But you know what, at the end of the day, it's like I want to say there's been a slow sort of evolutionary growth of this whole movement that we're in. I was actually just at Vegan Dale, and that was really cool to experience. And there's all these different products, like things that taste like fish, things that taste like chicken and beef, and it's amazing what innovation has come out. And it's like at that point, it's just like things are tasting like the real thing. Then the other argument that people might have, which kind of gets into an ethical dilemma, is maybe possibly that they're like anemic, or they're not, maybe they need heme iron, even though there's a lot of issues with heme iron being like a oxidant, and a lot of issues with that. But some people will defend that, and they won't, or they might have an allergy, like a nut allergy, or some other type of allergy that limits their foods. So, but again, it's just like human innovation is on the rise, and we're coming up with different things all the time. And
It's easy
it's
to come
just
up with excuses, by the way, not
mm,
to be kind and not to be vegan. And I used to ask people, why don't you make an excuse to be vegan? How about we make an excuse, even if it puts us out, makes us go out of our way? Make an excuse to go out of your way and do something nice for the animals. When I was in Cologne, Germany, a couple months ago at one of the AV Cubes of Truth, there was a fan of mine and he wanted to meet me. I walked over, said hi, assumed he was vegan. He said, no, I used to be vegan. I have a peanut allergy, so I can't be vegan. I've talked about
yeah.
this before. My brain has melted after 29 years of veganism, of dealing with human beings. I said, because you have a peanut allergy, you stop being vegan? How are there peanuts and fruits? How are there peanuts and vegetables? How are there peanuts and lentils and beans? I said, how about
Yeah.
you just avoid peanuts and peanut butter and things with peanuts? Like, what do you mean? Like, but these are ridiculous excuses people come up with. Or I need this kind of iron. Bullshit. Everything you need comes from the plant kingdom and the plant kingdom alone. And we're feeding all those things to the animals that meat, dairy, and egg eaters are eating. So you're just getting all those sources secondarily. Plus, it comes
Yep.
with
Yep. And
violence and fear and cholesterol and excessive amounts of fat that nobody needs and all these other horrible things. But humans are great at coming up with excuses. I noticed that. Boy, we can make an excuse to commit any atrocity, but very few people want to make an excuse to commit an act of kindness, which is what vegans are doing. And I totally
true,
dig
true.
that.
And, it's funny, and I know that the central argument is B12, but actually it comes from bacteria. I guess you see it in like naturally occurring in soil and things like that, and other areas. But it's coming from, the source is coming from bacteria, and I think Not a lot of people are aware of that. I actually learned that recently within this past year because I was like going more into the whole. Well, I was sort of like a passive vegan. I wasn't really pressing my message onto people and things like that. I'm not. I was just trying to like just engage in the world without ruffling too many feathers. But yeah, that was something I recently learned, and it's just like there's so many lies though. It's just like and I like to work out. I see you're in great shape, and the reason why I was a vegetarian for so long was because I was forced lies. Like, okay, you have to have whey protein to, gain muscle and things like that. And it was just like all this propaganda, but it's like I never got like the truth, where things come from, how things work, and that I could make a choice. Like I can make an ethical choice and still gain muscle versus like, because there's other influencers out there saying that, meat is actually more anabolic than plant protein. Now we're seeing there's a lot of studies showing that no, they're actually on an equal playing field, even though one has more leucine than the other or whichever. It's, being that exercise, the way you train is actually
Sure.
probably one of the main reasons of you gaining muscle versus like, the type of protein that you're getting, as long as everything's micros and macros are matched. So it's like that's one of the things that actually had me stay vegetarian for so long, and I actually found a lot of frustration there because I just been fed lies, and I was in that fear mongering, you know what I mean, and it's
And by the
upsetting,
way, I
but
think I think after all these years of working out, I'm now 55. Calories are way more important than anything. Get the amount of calories. For the last few months, I've been experimenting with frugivore diets, and I've been eating 26 to 34 bananas a day. And I put on 10 pounds of muscle just from bananas. Because why? Well, bananas are 100 calories per. So when I was averaging about 30 a day, there's 3,000 calories. For years, I've been stuck at 2,000 calories because I didn't want to add another meal. I was already eating 3 or 4 meals a day, and I just wasn't getting my calories. And Dr. Douglas Graham, I recommend people check his workout. He's the 80-10-10 guy. He claims 80% complex carbohydrates, 10% protein, 10% fat is all you need. And he encouraged me to do this banana stuff. So I think calories are way more important than protein, way more important than anything else. And also about the B12, I have a study on my website. The American Journal of Nutrition had a report years ago that 40% of people are B12 deficient. Well, if only 1% of the world is vegan, how in the hell is B12 a vegan problem? Everybody's got an issue with B12
mm-hmm,
because it grows in the soil from bacteria. And if you're not eating an unwashed organic carrot, some unwashed organic vegetable, and you're not getting that dirt in your diet, then you're probably going to be B12 deficient, or you might have an absorption problem in your gut and you need to get that stuff checked. And by the way, number one cause of absorption problems or gut problems: meat, cheese, milk, and eggs. Eating animal flesh is going to mess up your digestive tract in most cases. So everybody should be checking their B12. And I got some news just last week. I decided I'm 55, 29 years vegan. I've had it checked a few times. I just went and got my B12 level checked the other day. Came back 351. They rank it on 200 to 900. So I was within the healthy range. I also got my testosterone checked. I was 784. They rank that from 300 to 1,000. I'm on the high end of testosterone, and I'm a 55-year-old man who just eats healthy now and works out all the time. So all this nonsense, people, you don't need meat, cheese, milk, and eggs to be strong. In fact, in most cases, it's not going to make you healthy. And while it might give you some initial strength in the long run, it's going to do you more harm than good. And you can get the same amount of strength, which is the key point, from consuming plants. So if you can get just as big, just as strong eating plants, and you don't have to cause violence and pain and suffering, you don't have to exploit somebody else, why not do it for that reason? If you have a choice to be kind, why would you choose to be
mm-hmm,
cruel? Why would you choose to be exploitative? And go look up Patrick Baboumian, the famous strong vegan powerlifting man. He set world records. He's massive. He's just as big as all the other guys. And there's a whole swath of vegan athletes out there right now. Do a simple search online. Novak Djokovic has been a raw vegan for 15, 20 years, although he's on the downside of his career right now. He is the greatest tennis player ever, and in his prime, he dominated Federer and Nadal and won more majors than any other man in history. So don't tell me you have to eat meat to be the greatest athlete out there. There's evidence and there's proof, empirical evidence that some of the greatest athletes out there have been not only vegan, but raw vegan as well. And go check out Djokovic.
My question also is, do you take any supplements at all? Just curious.
I don't, and for years I even refused to take B12. Over the last 2 years, just people have been in my ear. Gary, you should take some B12. I'm like, whatever, man. It comes naturally. But you know what? I'm not an anti-vitamin activist. I'm not an anti-supplement activist. I don't care as long as it's vegan. So people misconstrue that over the years when I said don't. I'm just trying to save you some money. So I talked to some doctors over the years who told me that the reason why we absorb all the nutrients from fruits and vegetables and other plant-based sources so well, it's because of the micronutrients that are interacting with the main nutrients that we know. And when you get it in a vitamin form, a pill form, they're not putting micronutrients in there. So you're really just flooding your body with whatever nutrient. And then later on, when you go take a piss, this is why your piss is bright yellow. You're pissing out all the supplements that your body can't properly digest. And I would tell students, I'm just trying to save you 25 bucks on a bottle of pills that you're probably not going to digest properly. But I took some B12 supplements recently. Some people, I was in Germany. There was a great vitamin company that came out to see me, Vega, and they made $1,000 donation to SASHA
Oh, that's
Farm.
great.
And he said, "Here, Gary, here's some B12. Yeah, here's some B12 supplements. Just take them, please." I'm like, "Okay, I'll take them." But I would go get your B12 levels checked. It's not a big deal. Go get some blood work. It's not a bad idea as you grow older in life, anyways. Get some things checked here and there and see where you're at. If it seems like it's low, so take some supplements. If not, but when I'm eating my massive amounts of bananas, like today, I went out to let's see, I ate 2 peaches and 2 bananas before the gym. Got to the gym. It was leg day. I squatted 225 3 times, 235 3 times. I'm on a pathway to get back to 300. A couple years ago, I had a goal to get to 300. I got 290, and then I ended up catching a back injury, so I had to back off. So I'm back on my way. Did some lunges. I don't even remember what else I did. Some step ups. Got back home, and I made a smoothie with 10 bananas,
Wow.
1 mango, and 1 dragon fruit. So what I'm looking for calories. So the 10 bananas gave me the 1,000. The mango gave me about another 200 calories. The dragon fruit was 100, 150, 200 more calories. So I was looking for about 14, 1,500 calories. And when I'm done with this interview, I'm going to grab 10 to 15 bananas and make another smoothie because it's leg day. I want to get my calories. I want to, build some bulk. Just make sure, I'm going to advise everybody who's working out, if you want to build muscle, eat excessive amounts of calories. Eat your calories. It's not the yes, you can listen. There's guys at the gym eating protein and being big, but you can get that big and that strong eating calories too. Excessive. Get to 3,000, get to 3,500, do 4,000 calories, and eat excessive amounts of fruit. There's something else I just want to point out quickly because it's always bothered me.
Yeah.
When I would tell people to eat massive amounts of fruit, especially lately, I tell guys, "Oh, you're eating 30 bananas a day. That's crazy." I said, "Really? So how many chicken wings do you eat when you go out? 30, 40, 50? How many slices of pizza do you eat when you go out? One or 10, 12, 14 slices? How many chicken breasts and hot dogs do you eat on 4th of July? One? Bullshit. You guys having 4 hot dogs, 2 chicken breasts, a hamburger, two. Eat except, and then all of a sudden people, see a bunch of bananas. They want to grab one banana and go, "Well, I'm not really full today, Gary." I said, "Well, yeah, well, what did you have?" "I just had a banana." "Well, no shit. Not even a mouse on a wheel can get full on one fucking banana. Eat 10 bananas, eat 20 bananas, eat 30 bananas, get 3,000 calories. Watch how full you're going to be." So don't treat fruit as one item. Eat 10, 20 peaches at a sitting. Eat 10, 20 bananas. Eat the excessive amounts of fruit like you're eating excessive amounts of meat, cheese, milk, and eggs, and you'll be satisfied, and you'll be big, and you'll be strong. And check out the animal kingdom too. The biggest, baddest animals are the vegan ones. Hippos, they're the kings of the jungle, not the lions. Big myth. Hippos are vegans. They're the baddest. And by the way, they have the biggest carnivore teeth on the planet, too. Elephants are vegans. Giraffes are vegans. Buffalo are vegan. Cows are vegans, for crying out loud. They get to 2,000 pounds eating grass. Grass, that's it. Grass and hay, maybe? Are you kidding me? Look at the excessive amounts of choices that human beings have. Okay, and eat excessive amounts of lentils and beans and fruits and veggies, and you're going to get that size, you're going to get the strength, you're going to get the bulk that you're looking for.
Yeah, you know what? I've been kind of leaning into more fruits lately. Also, like apples, peaches, like you mentioned. I got a pineapple. I'm gonna organic. I always go with organic. I got a bunch
Sure.
of bananas as well, berries, um, and cucumbers too. Did I mention that? A zucchini, squash as well. But
Sure.
yeah, I think you know what's interesting is I get sometimes like chills with the fruit, and I feel like the reason why is this is I find the awe and the beauty in this like process, this reciprocal existence I have with the plants and myself. Like the fact that a plant is producing a fruit, a carpological structure for me to ingest and then to spread the seeds. Like that gives me chills because I'm like, that is so in line. Like we are together in this. You know what I mean? And the fact that like I have my lungs here, but the rest of my respiratory system is around my apartment in plants. And the
Yeah.
fact that we share that, and um, it's such a beautiful like amalgamation of our existence together, and that we're existing in this.
It's a genuine symbiotic relationship.
That's the word I was going
Vegans
for.
have,
Yeah.
yeah, no, vegans have this because everything else is nonsense. It's a genuine symbiotic relationship that vegans have with nature, with plants, with fruits and veggies. And you hear this nonsense too about all plants feel pain, which the meat eaters love to throw out there. Now first of all, I love trees. I love succulents. I love the aloe. I love the Draxina that's right behind me, and I've given her a name, Persephone, okay? I love the plants of the world, but keep in mind, fruits and vegetables, this is what the plants produce. Now, don't tell me a carrot, don't tell me a tomato is alive, don't tell me a yam is alive, or don't tell me bananas are cognizant in any way or sentient beings. So people need to stop being ridiculous with, oh, you guys are killing all the plants. And keep in mind, even though I love Draxina and I love all the aloe, they are insentient beings, but they are alive. And I do take care of them, and I do love to have them in my house too, like you mentioned. I love living amongst nature. I love seeing the plants. I'm in awe of all the succulents and all the cactus and all the aloes. I really am. But differentiate between plants and between the food that plants produce for humans to eat. And that's the coolest of the symbiotic relationship that vegans are having with the natural world.
I agree with you completely. And, for me, that's like conscious eating because I feel like I'm most conscious about that. And I can stop and I can just be in awe of like whatever fruit I have in my hand, knowing that I didn't kill that plant, that it's producing this fruit for me to consume with the intention of perpetuating its life. So we're both perpetuating here. And I like to kind of bring up this point that you talk about Garden of Eden. And that part, there's some parts of the Bible that I mean are really rough for me, but the one thing is like the Garden of Eden and the restoration of Eden. That gives me chills. And you call it the Garden of Vegan. I love that.
It was
It's
listen,
funny,
it
but
was
it's
it
great.
was God's first real pure habitat, and to have this beautiful pure heavenly habitat, it would have to be vegan. There can't be any cruelty in God's paradise, otherwise it'd be hell. it wouldn't be the Garden of Eden. It wouldn't be the holy mountain. So yeah, God's first initial plan was Genesis 1:29. I give you seed-bearing plants for food. God's last dietary laws, Isaiah 11:7. The wolf will live with the lamb, the cow will feed with the bear, the lion will eat straw like the ox, a child will lead them, and no one will harm on my holy mountain. Think about what
Yeah.
heaven is. There's no way there could be slaughterhouses in heaven. Otherwise, it would be
No.
hell. It wouldn't be heaven. There's
Yeah.
a distinction. And the cruelest trick that the devil ever pulled, he has convinced people to do things in God's name for eons that God would never condone. And this is one of the tricks that the devil has played on religious people, convincing them that God says it's okay to murder the animals that he created, his babies. And I've told religious people, if you believe God created animals, and they all say, yeah, of course he did. Well, then God is in animals. And if you kill animals, you're killing a piece of God each and every time. That's obscene. Why would God want you to consume blood, flesh, veins, muscles, and tendons? Why would God want you to steal somebody else's baby and then kill that baby? You're telling me God is not only an animal killer, but he's a baby animal killer? Chickens are killed at 6 weeks, pigs at 6 months, cows around 2 years. This sounds devilish to me in every way, shape, and form. I'm always amazed when I still run across religious people, and there are a flotilla of them who still say that God says it's okay to do this stuff. But I don't want to be completely harsh because I've convinced tons of religious people from all religions to embrace the real God, the loving God, the compassionate God, the one that says, Thou shalt not kill, the one that instituted the golden rule, do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. So religious people also need to wake up. And I'll tell you, this is a sad story. Back in the 90s, when I first went vegan, there were two groups of people I couldn't wait to talk to: veterinarians and religious people. Guess who the two toughest groups of people to talk to about compassion to animals are? Veterinarians who are just dog and cat people, and religious people who always want to kill in the name of God. And I would also confront them with, so when are you going to love in the name of God? Why is it always killing in the name of God? Can you do something kind in the name of God ever? Or is it always just God says it's okay to have black slaves? Because that's what white Christians did in America for 400 years. Leviticus 45:25. That's the scripture they used and said, well, wait, God said we could have slaves. Or Timothy 2:12, where men have used to dominate women. When do you ever turn to the Bible, turn to the holy book, and use the peaceful scriptures and say, you know what? Genesis 1:29, I'm not going to eat animals anymore. Proverbs 12:10, a wise man cares for the needs of his animals, but the kindest acts of the wicked are cruel. That would eliminate all that cage free and free range nonsense too with that scripture. Why can't they turn? Because listen, let's face it, you brought it up. There are contradictory scriptures. There are scriptures that say you can do horrible things.
Yes.
But if I am faced with
Mm-hmm.
choosing a scripture that says I can be kind, Genesis 1:29, and a scripture that says I can be cruel, Genesis 9:3, everything that moveth along the earth is yours for food, guess what? I'm going to choose the kind one. I'm going to be peaceful. I'm going to choose the loving God, because let's also keep in mind that book was written by human beings, not by God. These are humans who have, infiltrated this book too. These are the opinions and dogmatism of humans. So how can you trust any human too, especially when religious people always tell me, what's the first thing they say? Humans are sinners. Oh, okay. But all of a sudden the people that wrote the Bible weren't sinners? Really? I thought all humans were sinners. And if all
No.
humans are sinners and we all commit sin, how come when vegans tell you not to commit the ultimate sin, which is murdering somebody else, all of a sudden you make an excuse for it? Well, then what are humans sinning of? When you say humans are sinners, if it's not lying to people about how they should be living and committing acts of cruelty against innocent beings. I mean, honestly, what has a cow, pig, chicken, or turkey ever done to deserve the things that we do to them? How could anybody say that they don't count or that they're impure? These are the purest of all living beings, and we do the worst things in the world to them, especially stealing their babies and impregnating them. I mean, how could any God condone
Yeah.
artificially impregnating a female animal and then stealing her baby after birth. After 29 years of veganism, stealing babies, I think, is the most evil thing that we do to these animals.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, people, and I'm sorry, but I was in this group of people as well. Like, kind of believing the lie that cows need to be milked, and I was is very gullible, and I sort of believe that, but obviously it didn't make any sense when I really dropped
Listen,
into it, and it's just like,
I got to
okay,
tell you,
definitely
I
a
believe that
lie,
most of my life
you
too,
know?
Travis, and I'm not trying to embarrass anybody.
Yeah,
I had
yeah, I'm not trying to make. I mean,
hundreds of
hey, like
students.
I'll admit
One of
it.
the most common comments was,
Yeah.
"Man, I thought cows just gave milk naturally. What do you mean they have to be pregnant?" And then when I explained, well, wait, all female mammals have to be pregnant to produce milk to lactate, and they would have this aha moment, like, oh my God, what a lie! We didn't even think that this female animal had to be pregnant to give milk. And then the question I would pose, so if this female mammal is lactating and there's no baby around, where's the baby? How could this be? Something's not right. You mean we've stolen her baby? Because that milk was meant for a baby cow in this, instance. And then oh my God, what are we doing? You're stealing somebody else's baby so you can steal the milk that was meant for that baby? And then I saw a comedian recently, and it's okay to make a joke as long as it's funny. He said, have you noticed too that we not only steal their babies and then we put that milk in a carton, but on the back of the carton, we have pictures for our missing children. We've stolen their babies. All their
Wow,
babies are
that's
missing.
crazy.
But I mean,
Wow.
the lies run
Yeah.
so deep. The indoctrination to human supremacy, human superiority, and that animals don't matter. These lies run so deep. This is why it's so
Hmm.
hard to deprogram and unbrainwash people, but it's possible. People have told me I have deprogrammed hundreds of thousands, maybe millions, which is shocking to me too. I didn't realize that many people were paying attention. But if you watch my Georgia Tech speech or you watch Earthlings, if you watch these with an open mind, I don't know how you can't get on the path to veganism. Something is not right in your brain if you can watch my speech or Earthlings and not make the connection. And that's all it takes, 60 minutes. And honestly, well, what's the worst thing that's going to happen when you make this connection? So some people are going to get upset with you. Well, when have people become happy with you when you've embraced ethicality? When has anybody ever been championed in their time when they've been ethical? Because we think back at all the people we collectively admire, Dr. King and Gandhi and Rosa Parks, Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, Cesar Chavez. They weren't loved in their time. It was later on. People look back and said, oh, wow, they were just trying to bring equality and peace and justice. And I think one day the meat, dairy, and egg eaters of the world are going to be embarrassed and ashamed and look back at the vegans and say, oh, man, they were just trying us not. They were trying just to convince us not to steal somebody else's baby, steal a cow's baby, steal a chicken's baby. They were just trying to convince us to be kind to animals, and that's all we're asking for. There's no need to be defiant anymore with this.
Yeah, definitely. And I've noticed, sometimes it could be a little isolating, even though the vegan community is growing. It's very, I think, what is it, like less than 2% or 1% or so of the planet is vegan. Isn't that? That was like one of the statistics I've looked at. But there's like a dating app, Vegly, and there's other things that exist now with social media that people, and like Vegan Dale and stuff like that. But it could be a little bit isolating because just a heavy majority of people, they might agree with you, they might support you, but then they'll say, I can't do it for myself right now or whichever. But I can notice that like it is still difficult to do it now, but it is important though, and you do notice like that, like people who were doing things at the time, they were kind of like outcasts or whichever, but they stood up for what was right, and that's the most important thing. It is we are in a time period where we're going through growing pains. You know what I mean, as far as like socially. So
But stand up for justice, even if you're only one person. If I were the
Hmm.
only vegan on this planet, I'd still be the only vegan on this planet. If people still wanted to laugh at me and mock me or imprison me, whatever, I'm still not going to take part in something that is evil. You know right from wrong. Everybody knows deep down. In fact, I'm now convinced the people that do fight with us and argue with us, that's just them acting like a 5-year-old brat because they know they're wrong and they don't want to admit it, and they'd rather just, it's like, to tell a 5-year-old that they're wrong or take away their Xbox, and they're gonna have a brat not have a fit, not realize that they did something wrong that they should change. What we're asking for is so simple. It really is. Just
Yeah,
be kind to somebody else. That's all you have to do, and stand by yourself if you have to. Why would you want to follow the crowd anyways? The crowd has never once been on the right side of justice. The crowd gets killed. There's always been a small group trying to convince the larger group not to do something wrong and evil. And we're doing this right now with vegans versus meat, dairy, and egg eaters. That's how I know we're right, because everyone else isn't doing it. There's no doubt that veganism is the right side of this justice movement.
sure. And it's like we said before, it's never been easier than today, where there's so many options. We have knowledge. Technology is just skyrocketing
Here,
at crazy paces, and we're
I'll,
coming up with different ways.
I'll even give you an
Yeah.
example of how easy it is. I started in '96.
Yeah.
If you didn't
Gosh,
like
that must
Boca
have been
burgers,
difficult there.
if you didn't, there was
Yeah.
one veggie burger, Boca burgers. And if you didn't like Boca, you were shit out of luck. That was your veggie burger. Now there's 30, 40 different veggie burgers, different tastes and textures. You want heavily meaty ones?
Yeah.
Impossible, beyond meat. You want ones that don't even taste like meat? Go to Actual Veggies. That's the name of the new company. And literally, it's made of vegetables. Dr. Prager's is a vegetable tasting vegetable, veggie burgers. So you have different tastes. You have all these mock meats. Back in '96 when I went vegan, if we stopped at Subway and got a veggie sub, we were like, hell yeah, salad on a bun. Holy shit. Come on, your choices are endless nowadays. And don't forget about the simple, wholesome foods that everyone should be eating, anyways: beans and lentils, fruits and vegetables, all that good stuff. Split peas. This is stuff that really gives us all the nutrients that we are looking for. I do want to clarify for the vegans out there. I noticed that vegans tell everyone to eat fruits and vegetables, and then vegans never eat fruits and vegetables. Okay, stop living off Impossible Burgers and Beyond Meat. I know that shit tastes good, but that's because it's loaded with fat. It's not really going to sustain you in the long run. Please get to the wholesome foods that are out there, especially fruits and veggies. But fall back on the lentils, split peas, and the beans, and the grains. By the way, barley, millet, farro, brown rice. Stay away from the white rice. It's been bleached too much, too many nutrients taken out. But there's so many wholesome, good foods out there for the vegans too. I want you to get there. Get to the fruits and veggies, everybody.
Absolutely. And not only get to the fruits and veggies, but you also advocate for getting to an animal sanctuary and connecting with the animals that, we are supporting. And like I have like this hat here. I've been to all the local ones near me, Catskill Animal Sanctuary as well. So Woodstock, and then I got Farm Animal Sanctuary in Watkins Glen. It's really wonderful, and you get to meet them, and they're individuals. They have, like you said, they have like personalities. You can connect with them, and then also when there's kids with us, and if there's any kids, they just like light up in awe. It's such a beautiful moment for the animal and for the children who are there, and also for the adults too. But like it's something to be said about true nature, what it is that we can do as humans, and how to be truly human. You know what I mean? Is having those connections with life around us. And I think that is what's also kind of being challenged and missing when it comes back to this. But tell us a little bit about that animal sanctuary, SASHA Farm over in Michigan.
Got
Tell us
it.
about that.
You want to talk about the Garden of Vegan? It's in
Yeah,
Manchester, and I'm sure all the other sanctuaries all over the world, it's the same thing. It's a place where animals can be free, where they're not being branded, they're not being tagged, they're not being forced to do something they don't want to do. It's a place they can be themselves. So, Sasha Farm is very near and dear to my heart. I've been going there since '96, since I became vegan. I'm going to be there on October 11th for the vegan chili cook-off. I don't know if this is going to air before October 11th. If it is and you're nearby, please check out the chili cook-off as well. But if you're vegan, I've noticed too that over the last 29 years, most vegans that I know have never even pet and been near a cow, pig, chicken, or turkey. Go and see the animals you're always helping, the ones you're always fighting for, and experience the joy of seeing a chicken sit on your shoulder. If you're lucky enough to have one come up to you, pick them up, put them on your shoulder, have them stand there. You'd be like, oh my God, there's a chicken on my shoulder. This is crazy. Go pet a turkey. See how beautiful their colors are. You know, I'm often amazed when people say animals are ugly. They're the most beautiful beings I've ever seen. A turkey has like five, six, seven different colors to their head. There's blues and reds and whites, and they change colors depending on how they're feeling. Go pet them and see how cool their skin is and their feathers are. And go and pet a cow and hug a cow, kiss a cow, feed a cow an apple. You can do this at a sanctuary. Get them to come up to you. You want to talk about a great moment? If you can get an animal to come up to you, man, what a feeling of joy. I can't tell you. It's that Frisson feeling. That one, oh my God, did this cow really come up to me? I remember one day I was at SASHA Farm years ago. I was in the field cleaning up, mucking up all that stuff that comes out of their body. I'm putting it in the bucket, and I turn around. Lo and behold, Molly, the white horse, the matriarch of this farm, she's standing right behind me. How did she even sidle up next to me? She's 1,200 pounds. She walked as she was standing there like, hey, what are you doing? Picking up my poop. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that, man. I mean, it's just this magic. I've had so many magical moments there. One day there was I was helping Monty bale the hay, and a truck pulls up in the back, and he goes, Gary, you know, there's a baby pig in that truck. I said, what? There's a baby pig in the truck. He said, yeah, this person was driving behind a slaughterhouse truck, and a pig fell out of the truck somehow. Picked up the pig and brought. He called and said he's coming. I ran full speed to the truck. This a baby pig fit in the palm of my hand. Are you kidding me? 250 pound normally. Normally pigs are 250 pounds. We've genetically engineered them to make them 6, 7, 800 pounds. This pig was so tiny, fit in the palm of my hand. What a magical moment. What a precious being. How anybody could want to harm them. I just wanted to protect and hold him and cuddle him and kiss him. And I did beg Monty and everyone else, can we call him Gary Tofu, please? It was kind of my nickname over the years. And sure enough, we ended up calling him Gary Tofu. He was a wonderful addition to SASHA Farm over the years. But SASHA always has about 200 rescued animals there who need a place to stay, who need a happy place. And please donate some time. If you can, donate some money. These animals have no one else to rely on but us, the vegans. Now, I think the meat, dairy, and egg eaters should be responsible. There should be a tax on anybody that eats animals. They should have to pay for all the sanctuaries. But that's not reality. The reality is it's on us. It's on the vegans of the world. And the sanctuaries, especially Sasha, they are struggling. They are struggling to get donations. So please donate what you can. If you can donate to Sasha, I would appreciate that. But listen, I understand if there's a closer sanctuary in your city, you want to help them out. I don't care. I just want to help the sanctuaries, help the animals that need a place to stay. So please give money to sanctuaries, give your time to. They can always use extra hands every week to bale the hay, fix the fences that have been broken, to repaint the barns, whatever it is, to clean up all the poop around the farm. Go to a sanctuary, experience some joy, experience the Garden of Eden, and please, yeah, keep Sasha Farm in your hearts too, and do whatever you can. The animals would appreciate it, and then I would appreciate it too.
Yeah, and this time it's very crucial for us to raise money for Sasha Farm, right? Because like the owner is asking for a certain amount of money,
Yeah,
and
unfortunately, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to cut you off, but
no, it's okay. Go
so
ahead.
so Monty is retiring, and instead of donating the sanctuary to the next generation, which is Shara Jones, who runs that place with her team of volunteers, He is demanding that we pay him for the 50 acres of land that SASHA Farm resides on. And unfortunately, 50 acres of land, we checked it out with a real estate agent, a vegan one named Russ Hagee, good friend of mine. He said, yeah, 675,000 is the going price for 50 acres of land in Manchester in Manchester, Michigan. So we worked out a 5-year land contract, but Monty also took 250,000 out of the bank as a down payment. That really hurt us a lot. And we have to make monthly payments now. So yeah, that's why I came out of retirement to do what I could to try to get people to send some money to Sasha so we can. And the coolest thing is we want the animals to now own Sasha Farm. So Monty and his late wife Dorothy Davies owned the place for all these years since the 80s. But from now on, if we can pay him off, it's not going to be owned by Shara Jones, not going to be owned by Gary Yourofsky, not going to be owned by Bob Harvey or any of the other great volunteers that have been there for a long time. The cows, the pigs, the chickens, and the turkeys, the goats, and the sheep, they are going to own their sanctuary. We're just going to be working for them. We're just going to be taking care of them, hopefully for eternity.
Wow, that's beautiful. That is beautiful. So, guys, if you're watching this, donate whatever you can. Every little bit helps, and we definitely want to make sure that those animals are taken care of
Yeah.
and that they aren't, moved out of their home. That's their home,
Yeah, I don't
and
want to
we
scare
owe it to
anybody.
them.
Nothing. They're not going to be killed or anything. But worst case scenario is Sasha would have to close down. We have to relocate them, and it's hard enough for the other sanctuaries. We'll find them. But here's what upsets me the most. I talked about this several times. Animals aren't stupid, so they know what trucks. They know what happens when we put animals in trucks. They're aware. I don't want to stress these animals out. They're not going to be harmed. But if we pull up a truck and try to load the cows into a truck, they're going to be like, oh my God, every time one of our beings gets into a truck, they never come back. I don't want to stress the animals out and move them somewhere else, even though they'll be in a safe place. Let's let them, keep their home. Sasha Farm is their home. This is the land they know. This is the place they know. All their friends are there. So we really want to raise this money so we can pay Monty off, and then we can keep Sasha Farm as it is, and have the animals own Sasha Farm. That's how it should be.
Definitely, definitely. And I just kind of want to bring up one more thing. So this channel, a lot of people feel Frisson through music, a song that they love, something like that. Maybe even a movie scene, but music seems to be the common trigger for people, and also with science, they've seen this as well. So I've done a little digging. I heard that you like Stevie Ray Vaughan, Ted Nugent, John Denver. Let me see. One of your favorite songs is "Hey Hey What Can I Do" by Led
That's a great
Zeppelin,
song, man.
and you're also a Fanilo, Barry Manilow. Is that
Now
true?
you're exposing all my corniness, man. All right, I'll take it. I'm a Manilow
Yeah.
fan. um,
So just curious, like, yeah, go ahead. You say you've been to like concerts as well,
Yeah,
right?
and dare I say, I used to be Ted Nugent's biggest fan, although he's the biggest animal killer on this planet when it comes to hunting. I can't take his rock and roll expertise out of it, though. I have to give him credit. The man plays a mean guitar. I saw him in concert 8 times. I saw Stevie Ray 7 times. I saw Barry Manilow in Norfolk, Virginia once. And when the crowd was silent, I stood up and I screamed, "We love you, Barry!" The whole crowd cheered. But if you want a good song, by the way, to bring some goosebumps out, John Denver's when he does Annie's song. Man, that is a song that always gets me every time I hear it. I was listening to something the other day that there's this cat named Alan Stone, and the song is Push, Pull, and Tear, something like that. Look it up online, do a search. When he starts screaming at the end of that song, I love a good scream, by the way, man. It really gets me. This guy kills it, man. Goosebumps galore. If you listen to Jennifer Holliday do some gospel, look up Jennifer Holliday, Eye on the Sparrow. My God, you will have goosebumps for about 7 straight minutes. When Stevie Ray Vaughan, wails on a solo, listen to Shit, listen to when he does Voodoo Child, Jimi Hendrix's song, man. You have goosebumps through that whole song. Um, there's so much music. Music is probably the number one thing that gives me goosebumps all the time. But I gotta find that good scream. I love Steelheart. Listen to Steelheart, Mike Manojevich, the lead singer. Oh my God, does he have some pipes on him? In fact, look up the song called Steelheart. When he starts screaming throughout there, I get goosebumps all the time. I love me some Rob Halford from Judas Priest, Victim of Changes. That scream is probably the best rock and roll scream I've ever heard. Of course, Freddie Mercury, maybe the best screamer. It's between him and Rob Halford from Queen. They have some amazing songs. And Brian May, by the way, is actually a friend. Reached out to me one day. Actually, some news reporter put us together, and you should have seen me running around with goosebumps on. I was doing an interview with someone from the BBC, and they said, "Oh, I just spoke with Brian May the other day, and he's a big fan of yours. He listens to your speeches with him and his friends." I said, "Wait, excuse me? What did you just say? Brian May, the guitarist from Queen, is a fan of mine? What do you mean? What did he say? And what friends? What do you mean? Like him and David Bowie are hanging out watching my speeches? What are you talking about? You can't just make that statement." And then she ended up saying Brian wanted to connect with you. Here's his email, and sure enough, we've exchanged several emails over the years. Even did a video. Look up Brian May and then punch in my name. There's 2 videos online where he talks about me. And I have a friend, good friend, Jason Robel, who loves Queen. He's a great singer, by the way. Jason can sing. He has some pipes. So I always joke with him. I say, I'm friends with Brian May. Basically, that means I'm kind of friends posthumously with Freddie Mercury. I know Freddie. I know Brian. He's like, "Oh man," we always have these giggles and these laughs about it. But yeah, I'm big. Music has to have some oomph and some power for me, and mostly it's got to have some good screams too. But although I said I like Barry Manilow, I like John Denver, as long as you sing with passion, which I don't find music of today to be too passionful. I find it to be passionless. But like even the old corny guys, Denver and Manilow, they sang with such passion. I felt it. The Carpenters give me some goosebumps too sometimes. Yeah, just check out some of those songs that I was talking about. Of
Absolutely, yeah. And I want to say, like, one of the songs that always gives me goosebumps is "Imagine" by John Lennon. Just the words, and
course, of
I
course.
always get chills. And there's another one that actually came out that really gives me goosebumps a lot all the time, and it's by I gotta say how do I pronounce his name, but it's in that movie Oppenheimer. It's "Can You Hear the Music" by
Carmen, you know it, Carmen?
Ludwig Göransson.
Okay,
Can
I
you
gotta
hear the
check that
music?
out. I'm gonna listen to that
Yeah,
after we get off the
check it
podcast here.
out. Check it. Have you seen the movie Oppenheimer?
I haven't, no.
Yeah, and it's just like I guess it has like 21 or 22 tempo changes. It was just like a modern marvel in just music production. It's incredible. It gives me I get full body chills. It's just like, and also like the end. It's kind of like this climax, and it's insane. It's really, I don't know. For me, it's a big trigger, but I like other triggers too. I think like it can move into our life and change our experience of life, but also I lean into a more compassionate, and that's actually a trigger as well for me. And I encourage people to do the compassionate thing, donate to SASHA Farm, try to go vegan as soon as possible when you hear this message, and just be kind, right? Like just try to be kind to others, be kind not only to ourselves but to others around us.
Well said, man. I'm gonna leave it at that. Check out some Miles Kennedy and Slash too, by the way. I get some goosebumps when they're doing the acoustic versions of all their songs.
Thank you so much for your time, Gary. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for your work. Gosh, it's amazing. I love talking to you, and I look forward to speaking to you again.
I had a great time, Travis. Thank you so much for having me on, and let's do this again maybe next year for sure.
Thank you so much. Sounds good.
All right,
Talk to you
peace
later.
out.